So how important is personal branding? I mean, as you were just talking about branding in general.
Well, personal branding is who you are, man. And so
Mm-hmm.
Jamarcus and I have conversations at times, and
Yeah.
he struggles at times with identity. And most people do. I mean, I don't know too many people who don't. And funny thing is everyone's like, Trev's not going for that. No, just no. You trying to get me kicked out the church, you know? So my personal brand is so strong that when Stan at one time, he says, man, how do you do such a? I said, Stan, you know how when that idiot or so-and-so reached out to you, said they want to come eat me, you said, hell no. I'm so sure about who I am. You so sure that you don't have a question or a doubt in your mind about how this could affect both our relationship, or even more importantly, bringing an idiot to my doorstep. He says, yeah, I'm not certain people. I just know. So that's how clear I am about personal branding. So who you are precedes you, and quality precedes excellence. So when you say your name, right? There's a movie called it's like the Scarlet Letter, old John Proctor, and he was going to admit that he was with Salem witch trials, etc. But the man said, "Not my name." He said, "Not my name." So he'd rather die than his sons be branded for life with an adulting father, and Salem, whatever. So I'm telling you that your personal brand is your identity. How you treat others, how you treat yourself. There's a saying that people have and have had for years. And they've called me and said, Trev, I think this is going to be a thing one day. What would Trevor do? Like they literally and what's crazy is at that time, there's a little white girl I knew and she said it. And then this black kid who they've never met, they said it. And then another dude I used to know, then he said it. And they all were like, when I get to a pickle and I've got to make a tough choice, I'm thinking, what would Trevor do? And that's because I've always been relatively clear-headed about how I'm going to choose and make decisions. And that has impacted literally thousands of people. And I can say that for a fact because of social media now, because I don't do anything to impress people. I do things that make sense. So your personal brand start with what you value. I value care. If you're going to care, if you're not going to care. I don't expect people to care. So I give without the intent of receiving anything in return. If you create success, you can do a lot for people and then most importantly, not need anything. Jay-Z said it in an interview. They said, Jay, why are you getting into the sports agent space? He said, I'm gonna do more for them than they're gonna be able to do for me. And the average athlete is not a billionaire, let alone they don't have the mentality because they're focused on it. Jay-Z's been doing business now for 30 years. So he knows what goes into it. He knows how to manage your money. He don't need your money. Average athlete get a little agent, and then the story come up, counting whoever was stealing all the money. Jay-Z's people don't need no more money. So when it is look like me, you go, okay, so his brand of sports agency is rooted in making sure that people that look like him who get a stupid amount of money know how to manage that money. My personal brand is rooted in curiosity, wondering, caring, consistency, value add. I'm not a vulture. And then even more importantly, doing the work. Like Richard called, again, we paused it, but Trev, when you pause real quick and you literally paused it because there's work to be done. There's work to be done. There's always more work to do. So your personal brand is the one thing that people are always going to attach themselves to. Think of your favorite person. Think of the person you dislike the most. I don't like to use hate personally. It's not my thing because I don't like to put that out there. My favorite quote is, Dr. King said, I've decided to stick with love because hate is too great of a burden to bear. And I've been an angry person for a long time, but now I'm just like, man, I ain't got that energy, man. I ain't got that energy. And the more consistent or congruent I am with how I want to be received and how I can help others and the value I want to add, the more things literally fall on my doorstep. And let me be very clear. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing because it does get overwhelming. And even doing more social media stuff, it's like, man, this is kind of exhausting in a sense, but you go, well, you're not going to go get no job. and you do have an audience and these people have viable businesses. There's really no bad opportunity that falls on my lap, if I'm being honest. Like there's like, hey, this ain't gonna work. You're like, no, it could work. It needs a few tweaks, but it for sure could work. And I think there's an angle to work here. So my personal brand now has given me access to the right of refusal, which means when people have their first phone calls, when they consider growth, when they consider the opportunity, when they consider the risk, when they consider the reward, when they consider being a better person, doing more, call Trev. He's going to help it make a little bit more sense. And that's definitely the way that I want to live and die, because 10 years from now, I want to be one of the most impactful people who ever walked this earth. And that means I have to impact my own life day in and day out.
I was going to say, what would then be your best advice for those who are struggling with identity or trying to actually build their personal brand or even rebuild their personal brand, especially if they've, veered left and went the wrong way and they're now trying to backtrack and trying to get it back on the straight and narrow, if that makes sense.
So objectively, I don't know that that's the right way to ask the question.
Okay.
But I'm going to answer the way that I think you asked it.
Okay.
So 9 out of 10 people have not done enough. So you go, man, what have you really tried? So in your mind, you know what you don't like, and maybe you know what you don't like up until this point. In your mind, you don't know what you're good at because you haven't tried enough stuff to know that you're good at. In your mind, you might have a few interests, but don't know what else is interesting because you stay inside of your box. You carry your home, or you go to work, you go to the grocery store. So you really don't know anything in life. So my first advice, and always would be my advice, is to try. And if you try, you will know where the lines are at, where your lines are at. And then you potentially can figure out what's good. Now, here's the other thing. The challenge with trying is if you don't keep an open mind, if you do not keep an open mind or introspectively take a look back or look, like, oh, what was this for? What was this about? You really never grow. So when you're trying to reset, I was in the gas station with my guy Andrew's son, and he saw this area where there was all this trinket type stuff. He said, man, if I still was hanging out with these other guys, boy, they'd be stealing like a mug. I said, oh, what made you stop? He said they were headed down the wrong path. He's a football player. He's a positive person. So at 15 years old, he was able to discern that these people are going to lead me to trouble. And once you get in trouble, talk about a virtuous cycle, man. That's a vicious cycle. It normally just keeps happening, and it's hard to get out of. Because then you are personal branding. You're branded with felon and fuckery. Now people are like, get your fucking felony ass out of here. So you need to be able to say no, stay strong, be clear, stay motivated, and be around people that are better than you. Even if you feel less than, make sure that they're good people. So hopefully they're edifying you some. But the facts are, your personal brand can be built and ruined with one decision. So even me, a couple questions that I asked myself when I said, Trev, you're going to have to get into this space where everybody's going to know you or potentially could. I'm like, man, I'd like to be a ghost, man. Nobody know I exist. That's my favorite thing. But then what happens when I think one of the verses in the Bible says, put faith in no man, whether you believe or not. I don't know that I always do, but I will say this. If one man that ain't me could destroy my brand in 2 seconds, I would hate myself. It's that simple. I would hate every decision I made because I knew better. I knew better than to put faith in some man who stands for nothing 9 out of 10 times. So if this fails, it's only going to fail because I chose, like I just gave up or I died. But one thing we're not going to do is allow somebody to make some bad decisions because of popularity, fame, and confusion. I ain't confused about who I am. I ain't confused about what I am. So the brand that you're building or resetting has to be rooted in your values. If you no longer value fuckery, quit fucking up. If you say, I need to do better, get around better people. If you need to improve, look, let me tell you, the simplest thing to do to improve is walk a block every day. That block gonna get easy. You're gonna turn into a block. Just see if you can do it for 30 days. Just walk a block. See how far you get. And you realize that block in itself, just the walking, calms you down. Shout out to Richard DeBerry because he said he was so angry one time he just walked. And by the time he got done, he walked so far, he had to walk back. You forget what you're angry about. Anger is temporary, hence the saying, this too shall pass. But personal branding, if I had to inspire anybody, you got to try. You've got to get out of your own way. You got to both live and get out of your head. You have to look back so you can look forward. You have to be aware of the areas in which you're weak at and things that you need to improve upon. You have to be consistent and then continue to align with people who are congruent with kind of like your core values. And my biggest value, as I was taught as a child, was gratitude and just make sure that you treat people with respect. And I'm sometimes disrespectful, but that's only on purpose. But when I am disrespectful, it's not intentional, let alone malicious. It's like, yo, my man, so why are you so stupid? I might be like, oh shit, I can't believe you said that. This is a real time. No cameras rolling. Why'd you think that was a good idea? Because clearly they didn't think about it. And another famous saying is, if I thought it 1,000 times, I would have done something different. But you are what you choose to be, and you are the choices that you make. And that's branding 101. If we brand with so-and-so, if our brand was such and such, it either adds value or diminishes value. So even when the celebs have come in, man, I want to work with you on the dog side. I'm like, ooh, but you're not a dog person. I don't like popularity, and I really don't like fame. If I associate myself with you, the brand loses value because now I look like a nigga hanging out with niggas about nothing, and nothing from nothing leaves nothing, which is something my dad taught me when I was a kid. So being around nothing ass niggas ain't gonna get you nowhere. And niggas that just want to talk. I'm talking now because of all the work that I do. I'm talking now because of consistency. I'm talking now because I know there's more work to do. I'm talking now because if I don't talk, I don't know who will. And I don't know that people are going to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God, or me God for that matter. So branding. I am by association, we are always branded. I think the Bible says that too. and when you get within 4 or 5 feet of me, your stock goes up. And it ain't because of who I am. It's because of who I want you to be. And that's branding 101. If I can better you, then my brand is a little bit better. Food for thought, right?
Oh yeah. And last question, since we're all here to learn, how would you have rephrased that question then that I asked you just now?
Well, let's see if you could ask the question again.
So the question I asked is, hey, what would be your best? Here we go. Yeah, see if you
Go ahead.
Yeah, so what would be your best advice to those who are struggling with identity and also trying to either build their personal brand or rebuild their personal brand?
Okay, so what's the main question? You asked me 3 questions. So think about what you just did.
What's so funny is you don't realize how often you do that too. You know.
Oh,
right?
I do. But then you see me go and sum it back up and say, this is what I mean.
Yeah, that's true. He does it. So this is what I mean.
Yeah, so you got that on film. I'm like, I say all this. I'm saying, well, this, got you.
Yeah. So people struggle with identity, like myself at times as well. Okay. People are struggling with trying to either rebuild their identity or rebuild their personal brand or even build their personal brand. What I mean by that is right now, I'll use myself as an example. I was once a felon in fuckery, as you even mentioned in this video. And I was like, yep, I can associate with that, or I can relate to that because I was once there. Now then I had to turn around and go on a whole separate journey which took me 10 years, just so we're clear, just to, in a sense, rebuild, who I am as a person, how people saw me, because people only saw me one way. So what would be your best advice for those if you were only seeing this one way and you had to now, I guess in a sense, go on a journey to rebuild? What would that journey look like? Because for me, I already knew right when I reconnected with you, I was like, this is someone I need to be around, because he's the first person basically my whole life who called me on some shit. And on top of that, just gave me the raw truth.
Okay, so I don't know that there's an exact question in there.
Uh-huh.
And if I was to rephrase it, I would simplify it.
Okay.
Because in your case, Jamarcus is learning about branding and business, and he gets to see it. You say, look, man, I'm used to making poor choices. People recognize me for poor choices. How do I change how I recognize? Well, then I'd walk through a series of questions with you and say, well, what is the best decision you ever made? And then you have to think about that.
Yeah.
and then you would tell me this. I said, well, do more of that. That's the simplest way to get you there. If I'm simplifying.
Yeah, no.
Because you say, man, I want to change my personal brand and how people perceive me. Okay, so what'd you do to make your brand bad? Well, this is okay. Okay, so again, simply, what's the best choice you've ever made? Okay, go make better choices. And it's not rocket science, people. We're here to tell stories. So a couple other ways to consider the question is, again, part of what you need to learn to do is draw people out. Most people aren't going to give. You're here to give that because you've done it a few times. But if somebody who you don't know off the street and years ago was like, man, I found out I fell in such and such. You're like, oh man, if you don't get out of my face. Versus somebody said that to me. I said, yeah, man, I was, man. How can I help? Because you just embrace it. Once you see the good in your choices now, you just be like, yeah, I was. Because that person can come up and try to excite you, get something out of you. But all I'm going to do is edify and empower them.
Yeah.
even in their negative state of being. So you got to be able to discern, and all situations are different.
Yeah.
But personal branding 101 starts with the choices. And
Boom.
if a man chooses to be better and make the sacrifices, commit to those things,
Yeah.
then you kind of get there. You kind of get there.
Facts.
If you choose to make poor choices, you stay where you at. It's really that simple.
Hey, man. You said it best, man. I wouldn't be better best dog had I not made better choices.
And it goes back to, shout out to Tim at the Blendery, and many people in that state of like trying to figure out the next 15 steps to take their own life. They don't know what all the steps include, but they know they have to believe in themselves. So they got to try.
Yeah.
And that's the difference too. So what's a better choice? Let me go see Tim today. You know, guy sitting down, did dinner, what's on dinner. Let me go see such and such. Let me see if I can learn such and such.
Yeah.
It's just, hey, can I be better? These people are pretty good. Let me go see if I can learn something from them.
Yeah.
Don't presume you know anything. And even more importantly, don't think you got to do it alone. You need somebody to talk to. You ain't the best at nothing. You can become one of the greatest, but that in itself is a 10, 15-year journey, easy 20-year journey, and you're never really that great. So you just got more work to do. And there's always something right around the corner that could wipe you out in 2 seconds, because the world is forever shifting and changing. So the best thing you can do is be yourself.